Hi, this is Neroke 5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Locked in the vision, fire in my head. Serpents in the ground, whisper what's said. They crawl through prophets, coiling the word. Truth tastes like venom, holy and blood. Underground thrones, eyes made of flame. They don't say mercy, they don't say name. I saw the crown, I felt the sting. Voices said bow, I couldn't sing. 6 wings above me, scales below. Holy fear in a burning glow. Touch my mouth, burn me clean. Call it God, call it unseen. If this is grace, I'm marked and bound, sanctified underground. Temple shaking.
Welcome, everybody, to the Neroke 5 live stream number 15. This is kind of almost like an emergency show. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, my Patreon is down below there as the Red Pill Nation. I am at BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. My current sub total is sitting at combined. Is sitting at 999. Would like to get to 1,000. Maybe I'll get there during this show. I don't know for sure. But, this is kind of an emergency show. To a well, not to a certain degree. It is like, I mean, why am I doing this particular show on this particular day? Well, you know, the big reason is that if you've been a member of the Manosphere for as long as I have been, you have had some you've got some experience with um with femras and female women involved in the Manosphere, or women who have pretended or been involved in the Manosphere, who have later on turned out to be anything but allies. Well, as it so turned out, and this is the reason why I ended up having to move the RPN Nation Hangout from later on this week until to yesterday, and why I am doing this show and attempting to squeeze it in before I have to get ready for work tonight. The as you're aware, Ashley St. Clair, and I'm going to put her post up here on the board so you can read it. But before I read it, though, I'm going to like, as you may or may not be aware of, Ashley Clare very recently pulled a 180 and went back and openly embraced the left. She was doing it, and she knew she was doing it too, as her tweet, as shown here. I will put this up right now. Will demonstrate. She knew that she was doing it. This gets me to my point. Far too many in the men of Manosphere have blown the gates open. While female allies are important, this live stream is here to remind more than a few of you. And yeah, there are a few of you out here that definitely need to get this hammered into your heads. To hold, you need to be holding these women to a higher standard, and you especially need to hold them accountable, as far too many of them. And Ashley St. Clair is a big example of. Now, Ashley St. Clair was not a huge ally of the Manosphere. She had attacked the Manosphere on a number of occasions, as have some of these other ones. This is not just women who are tied into the Manosphere. These are conservative chicks who have engaged in actions not consistent with their values, or have demonstrated a lazy thought process. So when it comes to this one, and I'm going to read this off for you, for those of you who are just listening on voice here. Ashley St. Clair, I feel immense guilt for my role, and even more guilt that things I have said in the past. I may have caused my son's sister more pain. IDRK know how to make amends for many of these things, but I have been trying incredibly hard privately to learn and advocate for those within the trans community that I've heard. I also haven't said much on this because I have gone back and forth whether my choice would be helpful on this issue, since it will be framed as disingenuous. It is, or just turning because I'm scorned. Even this will probably become right wing. It's right wing hysteria. But yeah, I am sorry. Let me know how I can help. Yeah, well, wow. It's not right wing hysteria that what Ashley did. Ashley St. Clair walked away. It's not right wing hysteria. It's not right wing hysteria to be pointing that out at all. And I think one of the big issues around this, and I'm going to post up Ashley's photo here, just so that we can get into this, that she she had done, like, she had clearly done some stuff that was really badly critical of the Manosphere. Need I remind you, folks, that she started out on OnlyFans with an account called Sexy Laptop. Don't know what her connection was to it, but for some strange reason, I think how she got involved in the conservative media apparatus is a bit of a mystery to me. But she clearly ran with it, and there were more than a few guys out there that were quite willing to look. They saw a pretty girl woman happily agreeing with them, and they openly embraced her. In fact, this is an issue, guys, that happens way too often. And I think that this list of women that I'm going to go through over the next hour or so, if it hasn't sunk in with you yet, hopefully it will sink in. Now, I'm going to point out that, I'm going to, at the tail end of this, I'm going to also point out that there are women that are, although surprisingly few, that would probably be considered as women that have actually gotten it, at least so far. And then, of course, there's other ones in the middle that haven't actually made any mistakes, that I will be making a very specific comment about one of these women in particular. But yeah, I'm going to go through these, and there's a special song which I played yesterday on RPN, and I will be playing it again today, about Lauren Southern, and there is a long list of points with Lauren Southern. But yeah, to start out with, if you think that I'm going to say this as plainly as I can, right? If you think women stop being women because they somehow align with you conservatively, no, they don't. I have encountered a number. In fact, I'm going to be bringing up the photos of photos of some of these women that have been, including one, by the way, who tried to minimize the sexual assault of a 12-year-old boy, who, you know, who have been really critical of the manosphere, or have been, or only go and advocate, or they will be anti-feminist, but they won't advocate for the manosphere. Now, Ashley St. Clair has actually openly attacked the manosphere before, but I mean, again, right, it really didn't matter. What really brought her into the news is when she was having a issue with Elon Musk, and instead of handling it privately, went very public, went to the New York Post, and then, well, I would say she lied, but it's like, in one of the biggest acts of actual hypocrisy that is out there, actually went to the New York Post, basically revealed the whole situation, and said, "Oh well, me and my son are going to go into hiding. We want our privacy." After doing this interview with the New York Post, then she wants her privacy. She got absolutely spit roasted, got kicked out of the Conservative Inc. Although again, Elon Musk is actually not really Conservative Inc. either, and by the way, neither really am I. But and then she disappeared for a while, and then she came back because she made that post and then ran over and asked that I think it's Brave Books or whatever to take her name off of this children's book called Elephants Can't Be Birds. And then, of course, she attempts to deflect or minimize the fact that she is completely selling out to claim that this is going to be right-wing hysteria. It's not. It is a complete and absolute sellout, and she's doing this simply for the financial end of it, because she's apparently also involved in a legal dispute over custody of the kid that she had, by the way, with Elon Musk. Funny that it would be Elon Musk, though, that she would have this kid with, and not some random guy off the street. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. She completely sold out, and then she tried to justify it and went over and and tried to minimize the damage and tried to deflect away responsibility, as is very, very common with women on both sides of the political aisle, tried to deflect accountability away from herself. While I will freely admit, I mean, there's a couple of these women on that I'm going to be showing over the next hour or so that are not like Conservative Inc., that are not full-blown conservatives. But there is a consistent pattern of them dropping the ball, not being consistent and whatever. And I'm going to start out with probably the poster child of this, and that is going to be none other than this person. How bad is Lauren Southern? Let's just going to go through the list here. How bad is Lauren Southern? Well, I mean, I think this song, which I played on RPN yesterday, I'm going to play it again. I think this probably sums up her perfectly.
Yo, Lauren Southern, you attract unclean. Used to shame men for walking away from the scene. Talking about family values, acting so pristine. But look at you now, living out your own me. Single mom by choice, who you trying to deceive? Playing the victim, but it's your lies we perceive. Ex-husband's the villain, that's what you believe. Narcissistic trauma, you ain't got no reprieve. You pointed fingers, called men weak and lost. But look at your own life, check the high cost. Crying on Twitter, telling tales of pain. But it's your reflection driving you insane. Switching your stance, playing all sides. Trying to stay irrelevant while your dignity slides. Straight kinda feminist, now a centrist in disguise. Just a washed up grifter, spouting more lies. Cheated on your man with destiny and blue hair slug. Hypocrisy so thick, you're stuck in the mud. Switching your stance, playing all sides. Trying to stay irrelevant while your dignity slides. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lauren Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go. From right-wing darling to a centrist charade. Sold out your principles just to get paid. Flipping the script, you ain't got no shade. Sorry, white trash, in your own mess you wade. Twitter tirades crying out for sympathy. But we see through your mask, it's all just hypocrisy. Blaming your ex, but it's clear to see you're the common denominator in your misery. Turned on your allies, left them in the dust. Trying to stay relevant, but who can trust? A chameleon, always adjusting the thrust. Just a grifter, Lauren, and whom we discussed. Victim narratives twisted and contrived. From drag con puppet to centrist jive. Always rebranding, just trying to survive. But you're exposing yourself, can't hide the lies. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lauren Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go. Trek off the sod, feminist fraud. Switching sides like a lightning rod. Always a victim, always a martyr. But your story's getting harder and harder. Claiming centrist, but you're just confused. Spinning narratives, always abused. Pointing fingers, playing the accused. But your credibility's been long refused. Self-made martyr, casting stones. Living in a glass house, breaking your own bones. Manipulating stories, changing your tones. Desperate for relevance, through your groans. Cheated on your fed husband, thought we wait and see. With destiny of all people, it's hypocrisy. Now you're in a trailer park, trying to get cinched to fund. Living off the lies, playing everyone. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a sorry girl, white trash. Fuck Lauren Southern, she can kiss my ass. Fuck Lauren Southern, she's a fake ass hoe. Fuck that stupid bitch, she's got to go.
Okay, I should have done this right at the start, but I'm going to tell you now. Yes, I am part of the MGTOW faction of the Manosphere. Yeah, and it's that automatically is going to trigger a response in some people. Before I get back into this, because a lot of MGTOWs have not gotten through the red pill rage. But I mean, the fundamental issue around MGTOW is that it's first and foremost a marriage boycott. And the issue about that, and if MGTOWs aren't doing this, I don't think the PUAs won't be doing it, and the MRAs are obviously not really. They sort of touch on this, but they don't. So it's got to be the MGTOWs or the MGTOW faction of the Manosphere that has to hold these women's feet to the fire, regardless of whether these women like me or anybody else in MGTOW or not. I mean, the only two guys in the the only two guys in the Manosphere that really get, although I have seen Rolo Tomasi get super critical about them before, are Hammerhand and Sandman. Undead Chronic will as well, but he won't go into the whole logical thing. But anyway, I just had to reveal that about myself before I get back to this person, Lauren Southern. And yeah, I am starting off with Lauren Southern for a very, very good reason. What the hell can I possibly say about her? Okay, well, first of all, I mean, I'm not doing these in any particular order, but there was the situation with Tenet Media. Well, she did go to Ottawa and make a very good accounting of herself for it. You know, that was a straight up money deal. And did she actually know or didn't she know? That will probably never be revealed, but I mean, yeah, that is part of it. Then rampant hypocrisy. She has There was one particular post that she made about MGTOW that she did that was unsourced that got voted up by this person, who I will be getting into in a bit. Also got voted up by this person. Hold on a second, right here, Lauren Chen. So yeah, there is a sisterhood even inside the Manosphere. Um, Inconsistencies, marrying a fad, uh, you know, flip flopping politically, deflecting blame. Oh my God! Let me think. What else there is? There was, and of course, there was a situation where, and I have no idea whether this was actually true or not, where the fad that she married while she was in Australia and had a kid with emailed Rollo Tomasi the details, and Lauren Southern, along with this person right here, Brittany Venti, engaged in a smear campaign in an attempt to take Rollo Tomasi off of YouTube. Wait, there's more. There is more. She slept with Destiny. Here, let me emphasize this for you a little bit more, a little bit louder for the people in the back. She slept with Destiny. Okay? And she slept with Andrew Tate. Allegedly, she also may have slept with Tim Pool, but I mean, there's a consistent pattern of her. What do all three of those guys have in common? And well, it's certainly not morality. It's certainly not political and social views. What all three of those guys had, though, was money, power, and prestige, right? There was a rumor floating around. Again, I have to say this. It's a rumor, so I don't know whether it's actually true or not. But what I can say about this particular what I can say about this particular issue is that, is that there were multiple individuals uh, in there some of them, including some of them, actually had a fair amount of were millionaires, but apparently she valued herself so highly that she only wanted a billionaire. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, that was one of the rumors that was floating around about her. Wait, not done. Not done. Not done at all. Then there was her South Africa trip and how she hired a bunch of leftists to be her crew. And these leftists may or may not have inadvertently gotten Gavin McGuinness into trouble when he flew from Canada over to Great Britain. Now, then of course, there's also the fact that her Patreon got taken down. Yeah, her disastrous one of her where she had to actually have Destiny come in and bail her ass out of a debate, or one of the two debates that she had with Destiny, the attempted removal of Sandman. I could go on and on and on and on and on. I could go on. There's also, again, although I don't think she's Jewish, and I mean the far right turned on her and claimed that she was Jewish, and she did a 23andMe, I think, and that she disproved that. But again, right, absolutely unreliable. only interested in herself, extremely narcissistic. Um, Not somebody that I would be putting any trust or have any type of a relationship with. And too many guys were quite willing to overlook her because she was blonde and pretty. Yeah, I'm just going to let that sit there. Just by the way, that is quite a bit for her. But anyway, there's more. I got a whole lot more here. Remember the woman that that I told you was the one that tried to minimize the sexual assault of a 12-year-old? Cat Canada. Um, Rolo Tomasi, uh, probably about a year plus ago, was doing a series on teachers that were sexually assaulting her students. Cat Canada would routinely come on and would try to downplay, insult, deflect, whatever. And she was continuously attacking the Manosphere on her Twitter page. Apparently, she's also got a podcast. I don't know if she does, but I mean, I think the ultimate and I played a big part in this. I actually had to notify her like superiors about this, and she backed off on this afterwards. It was when Rolo Tomasi did one about a teacher that had sexual relations with a 12-year-old, and she actually had the nerve to go in there and actually attempt to minimize and deflect away from that. Now, she got rigorously called on it. I think a few people contacted some of the people that she worked for. She backed away after that. Justifiably so, but yeah, not really interested in having this particular woman in my circle at any point in time. Shoe on head. Okay, she is not the worst. She has had some very pointed and justifiable criticisms about feminism and about feminist ideology. She has at this point been around long enough that she has had the time to actually go and look and talk and ask two guys in the Manosphere if she wants to know about it, and she hasn't done it. She was one of the people that upvoted that Lauren Southern tweet about MGTOW, which was unsourced, by the way. When I called her out on that, she blocked me. Yeah, not the worst. Uh, Bit of an ego, you know. She does actually take the time, at least on her content, she does. She has had some rather, she does do her research, so her criticisms about feminism are actually fair. Very, very clear that she is not doing that same level of discretion on in regards to the Manosphere. And anybody in the Manosphere that's attempted to call her out, I think at this point has probably run into the same issue that I've run into, right? Um, Anything that Chew on Head says about the Manosphere should be taken with a very large grain of salt, and don't bother contacting or speaking to her about it because, you know, you're probably only going to end up getting blocked. Next person. Sadia Khan. Okay, I actually covered this woman about a month, two or 3 months ago, charging an exorbitant amount of money for dating coach services. Very suspicious licensing issue. Works out of the Middle East and not out of Britain, and she has that. And it's like it's been argued that that even her voice is not necessarily real. She's been accused of using filters. When somebody actually finally got on to her, and the fact that again, right, she super controlling of her image, and when she's attacked, she pulls a Lawrence Southern and will go out on the full attack. And again, right, not take any responsibility for her actions. But I mean, what really gets me is that, I mean, because here we go, this one here, she accuses Sydney Watson. She accuses men of being hypocrites and charging insane amounts of money for stuff. This is exactly what she does. But this Sydney has remained remarkably quiet about Sadia Khan. But I will get more into Sydney Watson when I get to Sydney Watson. Complete fraud, hypocrite, narcissist, uses filters. In fact, this photo here might be photoshopped to the max for all I know. Yeah, you know, just, how Sydney Watson criticizes the Manosphere of having these guys charge for courses, charge obscene amounts of money for courses. Yeah, that's Sadia Khan. And she does not have any of the licenses that she claims that she has. Roma Army. She has an OnlyFans. That right there, just like Ashley St. Clair, should disqualify her outright. And if that's not enough, then the neck tattoo. Again, there's just something that was off about her from the beginning. And I have not really listened to much of what she's had to say. So I'm only going off secondhand material, specifically stuff that I've heard from Hammerhand. The most consistent complaint, if you wanted to put a generalized issue on it, is she's basically a grifter. And she's not in it for the guys, she's in it for herself, which is not a surprise, since this one and this one were also in it for themselves. So yeah, I don't have that much to say about it because I have not engaged in a lot of her content. Now, Pearl Davis. She's not really been, I mean, although she's not a particularly good debater, the biggest criticism, which is, by the way, why I'm kind of putting her kind of in the mid category, she's still got a bit of a hill to climb with me before I will consider her fully legitimate. The biggest knock on Pearl Davis is that, is the fact that she's not really coming out with her own content, right? Like, she's basically just regurgitating stuff that she's heard from the Manosphere, except it's coming out of a woman's mouth. So yeah, again, good on her. Like the hustle, appreciate the hustle. But yeah, and again, there's a lot of guys and a lot of men that listen to her, and I will have a message for the men at the end of this. Content has generally been pretty good. She's been willing to have people come on and debate. The criticisms about her are mild. The only thing I'm going to say that's kind of negative about Pearl Davis is that, a lot of her content is just regurgitation of content that she's heard elsewhere. She hasn't stolen anything from me, but I know she's definitely taken content from other people. Now, this one. This is, what can I say about Tommy Lahren? Well, men are trash. It's like, yeah, remember that video? Wow. She is a feminist. She claims that she's not a feminist, but she's a feminist. That men are trash, and which, by the way, she never really took accountability for at any point. There's also, I don't know. There's strongly suspicion that there's been some plastic surgery done with her. Her most recent debacle when it came to the Manosphere, though, was when she was on Piers Morgan's show, and she was on with Andrew Wilson, and she just botched it incredibly. She then went on Andrew Wilson's show, and at that show, things were relatively civil and peaceful. And then no sooner had she left that show that she went on to another podcast and absolutely trash talked Andrew Wilson on that next show. Anything that comes out of this woman's mouth about the Manosphere, about the Red Pill, about MGTOW, about anything should be absolutely dismissed out of hand. Period. End of story. Some people have said that she's not even really a conservative, and you know what? I would be very hard pressed to argue with them at this point. Like her actions and the way she's acting is more consistent with a feminist than anything else. Then we get to this one. Laura Loomer. Okay. Not a lot of interaction with Laura Loomer. So I'm only going on a lot of secondhand sources here. The one thing I will say about Laura Loomer is that there's just something off about her. And again, right, she's Jewish, she's so obviously she's pro-Israel. She did at one point prevent a bunch of Palestinian kids from getting medical treatment in the US. Again, right, not necessarily, she's steered relatively clear of the Manosphere for the most part. I'm including her here, and I hate to say this, I'm including this here because there's just something off about her. I can't put my finger on it. I've had like first person I've had first person people who've had first person encounters with her that had less flattering things to say about her. But again, there's just something off about her. That's really all I can say. I'm sure there's probably somebody who's listening to the show who will probably get to this part and will give me the whole rundown on it. Just she's Jewish is not an argument. Just gonna let you know. Although again, right, very, very clear she's got a rather pro-Zionist stance around what the government of Israel has been doing in Gaza. And again, the government of Israel is not completely innocent. Then we get to this one. Jacqueline Glenn, probably one of the most disappointing people on this, because I found about her back in the days when I was listening to a lot of atheist streamers. She came across as a person who did her research, dotted her I's, crossed her T's, and was really critical, especially around Gamergate. Somebody who was really critical about the anti-Gamergater side, and was really very critical about feminism. The thing about Jacqueline Glenn is that, you know, I hate to say this about her, but she appears to have developed a case of Trump derangement syndrome. I did go to her YouTube account this afternoon and had a look. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but the title of the video and the footage was saying, well, it only makes the agent look worse. Well, no, it doesn't make the agent look worse. It's pretty obvious. You know, when you see video from multiple angles that Nicole Renee Good did run into that agent, right? What really stands out with me about Jacqueline Glenn is that she makes this claim about being somebody who is intellectual and will fact check and stuff. But I mean, in particular around January 6th, quite clearly didn't. And I mean, very clearly didn't. And again, there's another one. I think there's another one on here that falls into that category. I'm trying to remember right now, but I can't. Okay, let's get into the next one. Tree of Logic. Uh yeah, she's quite logical when it comes to being critical of liberals, but when it comes to the Manosphere and in particular Tate, which is, by the way, I got blocked by Tree of Logic when I called her out on her statements about Andrew Tate. Um, you know, yeah, not consistent with her logic. Again, she's also had a debate with Andrew Wilson, which I'm also going to have to go look at. So she doesn't duck out her opponents. But again, if you come at her about certain issues, particularly about the Manospheres, you're like, yeah. And of course, right, she has, and I will also get into this, right? She does have an army of simps that will come over and defend her if you try to go after her, right? Um, in short, I'm not really interested in listening to anything Tree of Logic has to say anymore. Again, right? If you're gonna be somebody who fact checks your facts, you know what? I mean, that includes everything. That includes, man, when you've got an issue with the Manosphere, you go ask guys in the Manosphere. There's a number of people that don't do that here, and as I'm going through this, it's beginning to dawn on me that a lot of these women aren't doing this because it's like there's a fairly large, ugly truth here is that, I mean, and again, it comes down to the big, huge boogeyman of accountability, right? They won't, most of these women that I'm going to talk about won't look, won't check, won't do any type of critical analysis of, or if they will go with the canned opinions about the Manosphere as opposed to actually going over and asking guys in the Manosphere about this. I mean, I will give credit to Pearl Davis. She does do that. Tree of Logic does not. Anything Tree of Logic says around Andrew Tate, around the Manosphere, or whatever can be pretty much dismissed out of hand. She is not an ally. Just because she's got a nice rack and says some things that you agree with, man, it's like that's not a reason to fucking simp out for her. And I have had to deal with simps coming from her camp. Christina Hoff Sommers, again, someone who is really critical of feminism. And she's probably second wave feminist, but she's called the factual feminist. She does do critical analysis, and she is or was very critical about feminism. She got ran out of the Manosphere though, because and by the way, I will get into this part later on. She did really appear to have a lot of blind spots when it came to men's issues, and this is a ongoing feature of a lot of the women on here, right? But I mean, yeah, like the Manosphere completely disassociated with her like well over a decade ago. Candace Owens. Now, I'm including Candace Owens mostly because of some of the stuff that she's done recently. Um, but I mean, I have to include her on this because of some of the stuff that she's done recently, the Charlie Kirk stuff for one, the French government allegedly trying to assassinate her for others, and there's been a few other things with her. And she has interviewed Andrew Tate. She has that show on Daily Wire, and this is no reflection on Candace Owens, but if you're having a talk about the red pill and the person sitting on the panel that has had the most experience and is the one who's most knowledgeable of the Manosphere is Candace Owens, you have a fucking problem. Like, you have a big problem. I'm also going to point out that Candace Owens did not start on the right. Her beginnings were with this website, otherwise known as Social Autopsy, which she only removed from the internet only after, I think, computing forever and a few people actually got on to her about this. She is a little bit of a media hoe. And also, and this is something, again, this is also something that has happened with Lauren Southern too. A long string of breakups with former employers that have some very, although again, the one that she had with Ben Shapiro was pretty much above board, but I mean, again, right, she has a hard time consistently staying at a position. Keep in mind too that she is married to a guy who's pretty wealthy, so she's got that fallback that a lot of these other women don't have. Tommy Lahren does, though, and because Tommy Lahren does, her true colors are coming out, and yeah, like you see Tommy Lahren's true colors. Candace Owens, again, I'm going to put her slightly above Pearl Davis in terms of reliability and allies. Would I want to get particular? Would I want Candace Owens as a friend? No. Would I want to be working around her? No. There's, yeah, I mean, again, right? She does do good work. She does dot the I's and cross the T's on her investigations. That's a great thing. Got to keep in mind here. That's one of Lauren Southern's strengths too. So yeah, before you start saying that's a good reason to keep her around, it might not be. Next one. Oh my God, Brittany Venti. Okay, she has done some downright insulting. Again, right? I have to actually go into this with her. Okay. Has done some very, very, including at one point even going so far, and apparently she was just joking, but she didn't. It was a rather shitty joke where she suggested that MGTOWs were closeted gays. Uh, then there was her taking part in the attempted takedown or jumping onto the bandwagon when Lauren Southern, who's on screen right now, and her attempted to take Rollo Tomasi down, where she allegedly sent Rollo Tomasi underage photos of her. Rollo Tomasi reported it. There was also some type of a side door attempt made around there's also a side door attempt made around Undead Chronic around that same time. So this is an indication of a woman who's really vindictive. But I think probably one of the biggest issues with her was what she did to Think Before You Sleep. Think Before You Sleep was a MGTOW content creator who, and I think Before You Sleep is probably the poster child of not giving away the farm, right? Think Before You Sleep turned out to be a one blowjob away MGTOW. And any content that he has done since, I am not really particularly interested in, because he completely sold out for someone like this. And it was very, very clear if he had done any type of work, any type of homework around this, that this is not the right woman for her. Again, one blowjob away. That's it. She's still around. Apparently she retired, but now maybe she's unretired. But yeah, Noah has zero problem using her body to get where she wants. And there's a lot of guys that are willing to, of all of the women on here that I've seen guys simp out for, she's probably got the longest streak on that. Sydney Watson. Wow. Okay. The more and more I think about what happened with Jack Murphy, and by the way, Jack Murphy did need to be exposed. I am this, and this is just an opinion. I don't have any facts to back this up. You know, I'm thinking more and more and more that that question that she asked Jack Murphy was not an accident. It just wasn't. And the issue with her is that after that incident with Jack Murphy, she also left the Blaze. She blamed the people at the Blaze for not being supportive of her, and she played the feminist victim card. She went over to Jeremy Hembling, and there was something happened. Don't know what it was, but all of a sudden she was gone from there. She did a long run against the Manosphere, even though she has been very critical of feminism, and refused, and she pulled a Sarkeesian. She refused to debate anybody or discuss with anybody in the Manosphere about what she was doing, right? And just when it looked like it was really going to start to pile on, she just backed away from it. Uh, she's out for herself. She's not particularly trustworthy. And again, right, this is, although I haven't seen as many people, like, I mean, if anybody sims for anybody, Brittany Venti and Shoe on Head seem to be the ones, at least in my, that I've had the most experience with simping out. Haven't seen very many people simp out for Sydney Watson. Her stuff is entertaining, her stuff is funny, and she does do she appears to do research, but apparently that research does not apply to the Manosphere. And again, like, I would not be interested if you're looking for somebody to go and talk to about the Manosphere. Sydney Watson is definitely not that person. Then we get into the last of this group, which is no, the second to last, because I got one particular one here that I have to comment about because I'm almost certain people are going to talk about her. But the second to last one, Lauren Chen, Tenet Media. Again, Lauren Chen has appeared to do her research. She has said some stuff about the Manosphere that was tone deaf. I have seen her on Twitter, specifically, again, that infamous Lauren Southern MGTOW post. She was one of the people there that upvoted that. I think, and again, this is an opinion, not a fact. I think she did know about the suspicious funding behind Tenet Media. Again, best of a bad lot. Again, she's married to a guy that's relatively rich, and her content has gone down since she's become a mother and whatnot, and especially with Tenet. Now she's only on Rumble. She is not on YouTube at all. And again, if I was going to go discuss something about the Manosphere, Lauren Chen is not the person that I would go to. In fact, none, except possibly for Pearl Davis. None of these women or Candace Owens and Pearl Davis, of the women that I've shown so far, I wouldn't trust any of these women to be objective when it comes to the Manosphere. Okay, now one more, and I have to throw her in here because I'm almost certain that somebody is going to potentially ask me about her at some point. Eva Vlar. Now, I have not, again, English is not her first language. I have not heard Eva Vlar say anything about it. She's probably seen what's happened to Ashley St. Clair, what's happened to Lauren Southern, what's happened to a few of the other women that have tried speaking out about the Manosphere, and she has very, very smartly stayed away from it. Don't know enough about her background. I know that at one point she was in a a relationship with a guy who ended up being far right. So, is she the real deal? I don't know. What I will say about it is that there's just something about her that just tells me to not. I mean, yeah, I mean, she's an actual. Again, this is just a personal opinion. She is an actual full blown 10, right? You know, there's no shortage of guys that will simp the fuck out for her. In fact, I have seen a lot of guys simp the fuck out for Eva Vlar. Eva Vlar appears to be smart enough, though, to not touch anything in the Manosphere. But yeah, word of caution: don't give. And I'm gonna say this again: don't sell out for pussy. Don't give up the farm for Eva Vlar, and not specifically, but for any of these women. Now, not every female is going to be toxic, and not every female is going to be bad, and not every female is going to be toxic or untrustworthy. Now, I'm going to run off a list of people that have kept their noses, that have been, some of these women have been around for a while and have kept their noses clean. And because they have kept their noses clean, I have to acknowledge them. One of them has even been probably unfair, I think unfairly attacked by the Manosphere, and she finally did have to respond at one point. But again, these are ones that I would probably list off as potential allies to the Manosphere at this point. But again, right, like, time will tell. One of these women I know personally. All right. But yeah, let's start out with Kezia Noble. She just kind of does her thing. I think if there's a woman that is in the Manosphere who I think probably deserves a bit of a break, unless somebody has something to convince me otherwise, it is Kezia. She has perhaps been, again, in particular from MGTOWs, but then MGTOWs will do that. She has been unfairly attacked. Yeah, Kezia, the thing I think that really needs to be emphasized about Kezia is not getting in the way of male progression. Yeah, she's a hustler. Yeah, she might be a bit of a grifter. Yeah, I don't know whether her PUA courses actually work or not because I have no intention of taking them. But I mean, I really don't see the point in going after somebody, especially when you've got all of these other women, when you've got 17 other women plus a whole bunch of other outright feminists that you could be going after. Venting anger and hostility towards Kezia is probably a waste of time. And no, in saying that, I am not white knighting for her, right? I have literally just gone over 17 other women here, or at least 15 of which probably are more deserving of anger and criticism, and really hard criticism being sent their way before you go after Kezia. If you disagree, or if you've heard, I mean, yeah, I did see the interview that she did with Coach Red Pill. Coach Red Pill, by the way, also a notorious grifter. Allison Tiemann. If there is somebody in this group that I would consider an absolute rock solid ally of the Manosphere, it is this woman. She has taken, including not being allowed to go down to the US anymore, she has taken multiple hits for her principles. She has risked her mental and emotional health to keep doing what she's doing. Yeah, I'm putting her in here just to show that not everybody, not every woman that is involved in the Manosphere is a fraud and a hypocrite, right? Like, She got booted out of the Calgary Convention in 2015. Lost the case, has been banned from going back down to the United States. Even though, like, apparently she's only like 5 foot nothing, she has taken a lot of hits. You know, um, whereas, and also, she's not like, say, Eva Vlar or Tommy Lahren or Lauren Southern. Like, people were not just blowing the doors open for her because she was so gosh darn pretty, right? Like, she had to earn it. All right. Karen Strawn. Know her personally. I've run into her when I was I more or less even know the neighborhood that she lives in. Uh, she's kind of backed off of making content, probably because of circumstances and events in her life. But again, by the way, not a welfare hoe, not a grifter. Although, again, she was making a lot of money off of her YouTube account for a while. Very solid, very knowledgeable, not a particularly good debater. She did go over, and again, this is one of the reasons why I have a lot of respect for her. She did go over when Anita Sarkeesian came up to Edmonton. She did go over and get in line to ask Anita Sarkeesian a question, and Anita Sarkeesian refused to address her. Right? So, yeah, she has gone out and taken hits. Again, right? Like something that a lot of these women have not had to do. Okay, Pearl Davis, sort of, maybe, but none of these other women have had to do. And then you have Emily King, relatively new, and she sticks to, I think, TikTok and Instagram, and she does do a fairly good she does have a fairly good YouTube channel where she's very critical. She's very knowledgeable about her stuff. Again, right, and she hasn't said something which indicates that she's going to flip-flop at this point. So yeah, I have to throw her in here. And of course, last but not least, the cast of the Honey Badgers, which would also include this person, Karen Strawn and Allison Tiemann. There's a regular group of women that come up on the Honey Badgers. Again, very actively in support of men in the manosphere, and men, in particular with men's rights. There are men on the Honey Badgers as well, but I mean, if you're involved in the manosphere, that's definitely the place to go. So now that I've gone over all of these, and yeah, guys, what do you do? What do you do? All right. First of all, and I'm going to have to give this out in 3 levels because there's 3 different subsets. And I'm going to do this from, yes, I am going to do this from the MGTOW perspective. If you have a problem with that, well, yeah, you can just bite me. But what to do? All right, 1. And this doesn't matter whether you're PUA, MRA, Black Pill, MGTOW, Ibmore, Sterling, whatever group, or the Promise Keepers, whatever group of the manosphere that you happen to belong to, right? No woman, even a 10 like Eva Vlar, should have the door blown open for her and just simply allowed to walk into the manosphere freely. Like, and this applies to men that are post red pill, as much post red pill rage as it is for the guys that are just coming in. You see, I'm a little bit more forgiving for the guys that are new to the manosphere. But for the guys that have been around, that have gone through the red pill rage and are still willing, and by the way, yeah, I mean, guys do, and I have been guilty of it myself, of maybe revealing a little too much. stuff to women. I generally don't tell women that I'm in the manosphere, but I thought not because I'm afraid of their disapproval, it's because I just simply don't fucking care. But like, one, don't just blow the doors open and start telling them everything. Two, never approach any woman, currently or in the future, like there's a possibility that she might fucking sleep with you. This applies to all of the men through all of the spheres here. She's probably not going to sleep with you. In fact, there's a couple of these women. Lauren Southern. Hold on a second. Let me mirror that photo of her. Lauren Southern. There it is. Lauren Southern in particular. But I mean, Brittany Venti, Sydney Watson, definitely this one here, actually St. Clair. All of those women, their only interest in sleeping with you is what you can potentially do for them, right? Like, don't just try to go, oh well, that's the Nawalt, that's the exception, right? Like, you need, as a guy, especially a guy who's post red pill, you need to be focused on your task. You need to be on point with that, right? Being on point with that. Oh yeah, you want to talk about another major grifter? Yeah. Would you actually seriously want to sleep with that? With Sadia Khan? Like, yeah, like, just you need to be on point. You need to be focused. You need to be laser. You need to be in sync with where you want to go in your life. Three, you need to figure out what you need to do with your sex energy. There are plenty of ways of doing that, and I'm not going to get into all of them at this point, but you need to be taking control of your sexuality. Otherwise, the next pretty face that comes along, you are going to compromise yourself. That's 3. 4, don't your identity of who you are as a person is not dependent upon whether you are in a relationship or not. It's one thing to know that, but it's another thing to actually have that as a belief system and believe it balls to bones, right? That you're okay with the fact that you're single, that you don't care that other people around you don't approve of the fact that you're single or don't understand why some other woman hasn't claimed you, right? Like, yeah, like, you got to be okay with that. And last one point, fucking accountability, folks. Like, don't just give these women. The reason why I've got a lot of respect for Allison Tiemann, Karen Strawn, and Kezia Noble is that they've made their bones. Now, Pearl Davis is kind of sort of getting up there. Emily King is also rapidly moving up on that scale. But I mean, like, there's a lot of these women. Like, I mean, way, way, way too many of you fucking gave the farm away for Lord Southern. Oh, wow, look at that. A hot, sexy blonde chick saying all the right things about the Manosphere. Yeah, guess what happened, folks? She fucking turned on you. I'm not even going to get into actually St. Clair. Like, I'm not even going to go there. Yeah. Don't sell out for pussy. Don't just fucking give the farm away. And the last, they have to be held to account. And as one more added factor here, don't give don't assume that because they happen to be of a certain political persuasion or that they have said anti-feminist stuff in the past. Jacqueline Glenn falls into that category. Shoe on Head falls into that category. Christina House Summers falls into that category, as does Lauren Chen. Don't assume, and of course, you've also got a conservative commentators like Tree of Logic and Tommy Lahren. Like, don't assume that because they have a certain political persuasion that they're automatically going to be sympathetic or empathetic towards what your situation is or who you are as a person. That would be a major, major faux pas on your part. Don't fucking do it. For the guys that are new to the Manosphere, or for the guys that are going through red pill rage, for the guys that are going through red pill rage, for the most part, none of the women that I have demonstrated, except possibly for Ashley St. Clair, are really, truly deserving of actual scorn and actual vitriol. Ashley St. Clair, though, didn't just sell out. She sold out and she tried to play the victim while she was doing it. Yeah, that is something that's really that is really gonna be something that's gonna stick with you for it's gonna stick for a while. The issue here is that don't just automatically assume because a chick is conservative. And I actually know one. I didn't include her because she's relatively new, but I know her. She's from Edmonton. It's not Karen Strawn. I'm not going to name her. She displayed a remarkable level of ignorance about some of the situation that was going on with Andrew Tate, for instance. So yeah, just an FYI on that one. The other option is that strongly suggest that you sit down and figure yourself out before you decide whether you actually really want to be in a relationship. You gotta take control of your sex energy. If you do not take control of your sex energy will take control of you. It really annoys, especially within the MGTOW community. It really annoys the absolute living fuck out of MGTOW that so many of these guys will just open the door and let these women in and be dependent. The art of anti-gynocentrism, right? How much of what you believe and where you go in your life is dependent, or do you do for the approval of the opposite sex? You need to stop that. Stop it right fucking now, right? If there is a living, breathing example of why you need to stop that, this is the big one. And she's the reason why I'm doing this emergency show tonight, right? She completely fucking sold out. Like, completely. And, well, none of these, although Jacqueline Glenn has kind of sort of gone that route. This was what Ashley St. Clair did was a complete and absolute utter sellout. And she did it because she's Ashley St. Clair. And again, right, like, not all of the women on here are like that, of these ones that are like that. But I mean, again, right, you gotta take, when these women get involved in this sphere, right, you have to take a critical look. You have to be critical of what they say, what they do, how they act. Like, that's important. Don't let anybody convince you that it's not important. It is. And like, if this list, and by the way, I could have expanded upon this list more and brought in lesser known figures. and used them as examples, or brought in feminists and used them as lesser known examples as well. But I didn't want to do that, right? Like, if you think conservative women are the answer, you're in for a rude shock. If you think women who are dating coaches are the answer, they're not, right? Like, don't ever make the assume. I mean, this one right here, like, the levels of dishonesty and absolute, complete, knowing, willful ignorance about the situation with Tate, but happily willing to opine on Tate, was like the death knell for her. I'm talking about Tree of Logic. Brittany Venti's also up there. So yeah, you know, let me know if there's something that you didn't get, or if I forgot to include somebody. Feel free to let me know. But yeah, this concludes the emergency episode of the Neroke 5 live stream. I hope you enjoyed it, and I am going to I'm gonna sign out here. Just a second. Yeah, all right, there we go. And I have got a closing song. It's from It's in Certitude from Anna Ekstrom and Anna Dager. I will have a specific closing out song for the Roki 5 live stream at some point, but this is it right now for the closing out. And thank you very much for listening. Oh yeah, there's the banner. Thank you. Come on, let's go here. Sorry, bit of a tech. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.